Hey, welcome to the Cybersecurity Whisper for the week of June 2nd. Hope everyone is having a great week. Hey, thanks for all the comments last week. One of you asked that we start including show notes with links to some of the articles and sources, so we will certainly do that going forward. So again, great interaction. Appreciate that. Lots to talk about this week. Really love what I do in terms of security, and there's so many different articles I could choose from each week. There's a series on LinkedIn right now where many folks are saying, hey, there's a bad economy. Maybe I want to change careers. Maybe I wanted to get into cyber. And a lot of folks are saying, hey, you need to pause and think about that in any career change. But certainly now might not be the time to get into cyber just because it's such a hard market. But certainly that's going to change because, continues to be a shortage. But some companies and the hiring departments are just really focusing on experience, or there's so many folks being laid off from different companies. And so happy to help in any way can. If you reach out, and you've got questions, email me, send me a note on LinkedIn. Happy to give you my thoughts in terms of kind of if you've got career challenges, if you're looking for a role, or if you're looking to change into cyber, be sure and let me know. So huge news that started coming up yesterday in terms of the TicketMaster breach and Santander Bank breach. Apparently, this is all tied to Snowflake. So I'll just start at the beginning. Hudson Rock is kind of the researchers there are kind of who publish this information. Hudson Rock is a cybercrime intelligence company. Their motto is that they help prevent ransomware attacks and data breaches caused by the infostealer infections. And according to Hudson Rock, a Snowflake employee's, single employee's credentials were compromised through an infostealer infection back in October of last year. Allegedly, this allowed the threat actor to bypass both Okta and generate Snowflake session tokens, enabling them to exfiltrate significant amounts of data from Snowflake server. And the threat actors that they've been communicating with claim to have access to data from 400 companies that stored their data with Snowflake. Now, Hudson Rock said they've been corresponding with this threat actor who claimed they were able to exfiltrate, data certainly from TicketMaster and Santander via the compromised employee credentials that they gained access to. Again, if you're not familiar with Snowflake, they are a cloud-based data platform that provides a single place for data warehousing, data lakes, data engineering, data science, and more, developed back in 2012, and they went public in 2020. They're based in Montana. So, in addition to Ticketmaster and Santander Bank, Hudson Rock suggests that the hacker have gained access again to other Snowflake customers. And if you just do a quick search, some of those large customers are AT&T, Hewlett-Packard, Instacart, DoorDash, NBCUniversal, and Mastercard. They said that sometime in April, an unidentified threat group was able to gain access to Ticketmaster's AWS instances by pivoting, they said, from a managed service provider. The Ticketmaster breach was not performed by shiny hunters. Again, these criminal groups have third parties. They've got a very well-defined network. And Shiny Hunters is just the individual or group which posted the auction of the data. So they're a proxy for the threat group responsible for the compromise. The date ranges of this data that's out on the dark web goes back as far as 2011. It includes full name, email address, your physical address, telephone number, credit card numbers, credit card type, authentication type, everything. So huge incident. There's probably going to be a lot more breach reports come out now. If you use Snowflake, you should be checking your systems, looking for indicators of compromise. Just huge. Again, if you've got third parties and you're hosting your data with third parties, how do you validate and verify that they are following their, contractually obligated security, parameters, that they're following the frameworks that they're legally required to follow, that they're doing, pen testing, and they've got good detection and response systems set up. Of course, Snowflake on their website is publicly denying this. It's saying that they have not been compromised, that yes, a single employee's account was compromised in a demo environment that wasn't connected to production, but they are denying any of this has occurred. So lots more to come on that. When you do have a breach like this, there were reports this week that IR reports, your incident response reports, are not protected documents. Courts in 3 different countries have now ruled that incident response and forensics reports are not protected legal documents and must be made available in other court cases or to authorities on request. So these are legal precedents that in Australia, Canada, and the United States. And in the United States, the precedent is older. It's related to the 2019 Capital One data breach. And when back in May of 2020, a judge ruled that plaintiffs in class action lawsuits were entitled to a Mandiant IR report that Capital One commissioned after its breach. Capital One, of course, tried to claim that the report was a protected legal document. But the court ruled that privilege did not apply to the forensics report because it was completed under the original retainer agreement in which the bank directly engaged and paid Mandiant for their work. So in order to ensure the report was protected, Capital One should have retained their law firm prior to the breach and instructed Mandiant to work at the counsel's direction. This would have been sufficient to trigger, attorney-client privilege and attorney work product doctrine. So, it's very important. If you have a breach, you're at a company, you need to have outside counsel represent you that's familiar with breaches. And they then need to contract with the IR firm so that it's the legal counsel's report, not yours. And then it would be protected. So very important that you follow the right steps there. I know you're all in a rush, hair's on fire when you're in a breach, but it could come back to bite you in many ways. This is just one of them. United Healthcare, maybe rightly so, with the Change Healthcare breach, just continues to get raked over the coals. This week, a senator, Senator Ron Wyden, just unloaded on the UHG and a letter to regulators on Thursday, calling for the company's leaders to be held responsible for negligence. Certainly not a word you want to hear with a breach connected to the ransomware attack on Change Healthcare. In this 4-page letter, Wyden compared the incident to the compromise of SolarWinds and said that United Health senior executives and their board of directors must be held accountable for a cascade of reckless decisions, most notably hiring a chief information security officer who had not worked in a full-time cybersecurity role before he was elevated to the job in June of 23. Due to his apparent lack of prior experience in cybersecurity, it would be unfair to scapegoat Mr. Martin, that's Change's CISO, for UHG's cybersecurity lapses. Instead, United Healthcare CEO and the company's board of directors should be held responsible for elevating someone without the necessary experience to such an important role in the company, as well as for the company's failure to adopt basic cyber defenses. If you look at Mr. Martin, his bio on their website, he is their enterprise executive vice president for enterprise technology. So he had cyber and many other disciplines under him. He wasn't focused certainly just on cyber. So, in my research, I can't find a CISO or director of InfoSec. Did Change Healthcare not have anyone coordinating security for their entire company? There's going to be some pretty significant probably fines and things to come from this. We need to be careful. We don't want the government dictating what an experienced CISO is. But I think what the senator's calling out is fair, that they didn't have any, that their person that they had claiming to be the heads of security had no security experience. Moving on to more kind of CISO leadership things, the art of saying no really is a powerful tool for the CISO in the era of AI. And so, you talk about moving fast can be a good thing, but not at the cost of security. And this has been the age-old battle going back to when security leaders were just starting to be identified. But the AI boom is really putting immense pressure on product teams to quickly bring products to market ahead of competitors. And so CISOs can really seize this moment to show how security can be a powerful business enabler. The security of a product can really make or break a launch. And no one understands this better than the CISO, who's got to align these risks with their organization's risk appetite. Sometimes CISOs say no to emerging tech when the risks are not fully understood or they don't really have, mitigations fully implemented, which can be challenging in a time when AI adoption, of course, is just skyrocketing. But we've seen this play out before, and there are good lessons to recall. If we think about over a decade ago when cloud, was being experimented with and we were rapidly expanding, if a CISO blocked cloud at your company, that's okay. You were just circumvented. Shadow IT would come around. Marketing would just go put it on their credit card and use it anyway, which, of course, really results in a less than ideal security posture. So, the CISOs at that time who really leaned into the potential of cloud and they learned about its security benefits, they were able to support their business colleagues along the way and ensure that anything built or deployed in the cloud would meet or exceed their security standards. That really illustrates that security investments can offer significant business outcomes. And so over time, our CISO's role has evolved from a reactive technical role to being really the security expert who proactively weighs in on business decisions and really counsels the CEO and the board. And so we, our business goals and outcomes can be directly impacted by the CIO's support behind them. And so to support these decisions and not be viewed as a department of no, but rather yes, and where we fully lean in and support the business objectives, and we have the responsibility of explaining and mitigating risk. We are risk managers. We can seek every opportunity to embed security into new innovations from early stage rather than giving rise to shadow IT by building a training program and embedding security ambassadors in every product and engineering team. And really, this helps ensure that they are being built with a security mindset from the beginning. Also, incubating a security culture where everyone has security responsibility. Ensure security hygiene and ownership are taught at every level of the company to ensure each employee does their part in reducing risks. That's really the key to having a successful security team, is making sure that everyone understands it's not just an IT problem, it's not an IT risk, it's an enterprise risk. Cybersecurity is an enterprise risk that has to be thought of that way. Ending on a couple of positive notes, from Krebs this week, law enforcement agencies in the U.S. and Europe announced Operation Endgame, which was really this coordinated action against some of the most popular cybercrime platforms for delivering ransomware and data stealing malware. They released a statement. Europol released a statement. Between May 27th and May 29th, authorities arrested 4 suspects and this disrupted or took down more than 100 internet servers. And they seized more than 2,000 domain names that supported dropper infrastructure online. In addition, Europol released information on 8 fugitives suspected of involvement in these dropper services and who were wanted by Germany. And their names and photos were added to Europol's most wanted list on May 30th. Also, we've been talking a lot about the NIST vulnerability database and the National Vulnerability Database and the backlog that it's had. And this is really critical because if you look at some of these vulnerability scanner tools, especially with AI, when they find a vulnerability, they look at whether it's a critical, high, medium, or low and what its CVSS score. And with those being backlogged and not having ratings, it could cause challenges with companies' patching strategies and remediation. And so the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and the government contractor and Allegiance will help clear this NVD backlog. And NIST, said that this should really be cleared up by the end of September. They put out a memo. NIST scaled back its activities on the NVD program in mid-February because they had a change in interagency funding and really a staggering deluge of CVE disclosures. The agency reported an all-time high of over 33,000 vulnerabilities last year. So again, they've hired this Maryland-based and Allegiance company and paid them $865,000 to support the processing of incoming vulnerabilities for the NVD, and they said they will start this this coming week, June 3rd. So good news there, and wanted to end on that good note. Again, like, subscribe, ask us your questions, and we look forward to seeing you back next week.